to start the show with a quick stat of the day. The Bethune-Cookman Wildcats football team have more world wins this season than the Chicago Bears have had since 2021. For people who think SWAC football is bad, it could be worse. Welcome to our show tonight, folks. I'm Kendrick. I'm joined by Chris, who's the tuxedo man. Tuxedo Stan. Why is that?
That's a group. I'm not talking about the actual tuxedo, but tuxedo. Mayor Hawthorne and Jake One. They do 80s retro funk. They put out Tuxedo 4 this week. Superb album. They've done it again. I've just been listening to that nonstop. So I'm a Tuxedo stan.
Got Jared Hoffman talking about chaos in the CIAA, and Kieran Rashad, whose Grambling Tigers are mathematically G-eliminated. That's a good alliteration right there. We're going to talk about Grambling later in the show and all their issues, a specific kind of issue they have this season. We're going to recap what was an interesting weekend, a lot of upsets, a lot of shakeups in the CIAA and in the MEAC. With all that, college basketball started today. The slate is open for Black college basketball in the SWAC, the MEAC, OVC, Division II. All of them will get going today. As the season goes on, we'll have more and more coverage of Black college basketball. So stay tuned for that. But first, we're going to do, as normally we do to start the show, Who Balled Out? Election edition. Remember, tomorrow is election day. If you haven't voted, make sure to do that. We all voted for the top performances in Black college football over this past weekend. Our first player is Cam Ransom, who came off the bench against Grambling State and threw for 199 yards and 2 touchdowns in their shocking win, a win that Kieran Rashad, a Grambling alum, calls the worst loss in the history of their program, even dating back pre-Eddie Robinson. It goes without saying how amazing that is. But yeah, Cam Robinson is the first player who balled out. Up next is somebody from our panel who happened to went to Bowie State, picked Micah Robinson, a Bowie State player. Their running back, he rushed for 171 yards and 4 touchdowns in their win, a rare win this season for Bowie State. So congrats to Micah Robinson. Another running back, this one is by Chris Stevens, Alan Riggs of CAU. They had a big win on Saturday. Alan Riggs, their running back, toted the ball for 119 yards, and he scored 2 touchdowns against Tuskegee. And finally, Morgan State's Elijah Williams, he became the Bears' all-time sack leader. He picked up his 29th sack on Saturday in Morgan State's thrilling overtime win against Norfolk State. And those are the players who balled out for the week. As you see, we try to vary it. We don't stick to all like Division I players. We try to go to Division II. I know Jared had an NAIA player in there last week, so we try to keep the nominees kind of diverse to make sure we spread the wealth and recognizing a lot of different football players across the Black college sports spectrum. So with that being said, we're going to recap the weekend. And as I mentioned in the open, it was a very fun and mind-blowing weekend. It started out on Thursday night, and as an aside, thanks to everyone who watched our live stream of our watch party on Thursday night. Everybody who watched or listened, participated in discussion. You had Ken, I was out sick, but just listening and watching a little bit that I had the energy to watch. It was really good to see our community of listeners and people who were viewing it interact in that way. So I'm glad it went off without a hitch. Can't say that for North Carolina Central because they lost 24-21 to South Carolina State on Thursday night. And the Bulldogs are now in first place in the MEAC. We knew this was going to be the biggest game of the season in the MEAC, and it for a half didn't look like it was going to be. It looked like the Bulldogs was going to run away with it. And then North Carolina Central went on a run to pull within 3. But Eric Phoenix and his arms and his legs would not let them lose. And so they're in first place, a surprising first place team at this point of the season. Fellas, what do we make of not only South Carolina State's win, but kind of what it means for the MEAC race? I'll start with Chris.
I figured that this South Carolina State ball club was going to make some noise at some point. I just didn't expect it to be in 2024. That just says that whatever Chinnisberry is doing is working. I mean, he brought in Jared. Jared, I actually mentioned you in the MEAC press conference, coaches conference. I said I got a coworker that is looking forward to talking mad junk if y'all forward to talk. I was talking to Barry. He said, well, you just got to have guys who love football. And it was clear on Thursday that South Carolina State just came out there with bad intentions. And it was the biggest home game they've had in a long time. It's the biggest win they've had since they beat Jackson State in the 2021 Celebration Bowl. So right now, this is a football team that just has everything wrong. You got Eric Phoenix, who is, if he didn't clinch Offensive Player of the Year, then there's a problem. I mean, there's nobody better in the MEAC right now. So you have Jaden Brockton on that defensive line, Aaron Smith.
Say it again.
The young man who was named to the Shrine Bowl.
Aaron Smith.
Yeah, Aaron Smith on the defensive end, on the defensive side of the ball. This is a team that could absolutely run the table, but as Ryan Bunn says in the chat, they still got to go to Morgan and Howard. And I mean, they play Howard this weekend, and Howard looked well. I mean, respectfully, who doesn't look good against Delaware State at this point in time? So, I mean, they looked great against Delaware State this week. So, I mean, that should be a very fun game this coming Saturday at Green Stadium. And Morgan, it seems like Morgan's got an offense now. I mean, we've been saying it. We've been saying it for the duration of this program. They have to find an offense, and they have found one apparently. So, it's not going to be an easy thing for South Carolina State to win this MEAC. But right now, they're definitely in the driver's seat.
Yeah, Jared Hoffman, you think South Carolina State can run the table the rest of the way and win the MEAC?
I definitely do. I think they got the talent to do it. I think they got the coaching to do it. They executed their game plan to, I don't want to say perfection because they allowed North Carolina Central to get back into the game. But the first half, they were in control and there was nothing that North Carolina Central could do about it. And then when you look at the teams that they have to face, Delaware State, I mean, Chris said it all. I don't need to say nothing else. Norfolk State, for whatever reason, collapsed against Morgan State. And we talk about Morgan State. I don't know what I'm going to get from Morgan State night in and night out on offense. They look great against Hampton, and they look great against Norfolk State. Everybody else, they wet the bed. And then Howard, another team that's had inconsistent play. So I trust South Carolina State much more than I trust any of those other teams. I trust Eric Phoenix more than I trust any of those other quarterbacks. I trust that defense with Aaron Smith and Jaden Brockton more than I trust any other defense. Well, no, I don't. Morgan State. But anyway, they have a more complete team than any other team that they have to face for the rest of the season. So do I think that they can run the table? Absolutely, I do.
Man, EA starting you already can. 5 minutes to show.
EA, we gonna get there. We're gonna
get there in, man. Just wait to the end, man. We're gonna get there. We're gonna light Kim Rashad up for you, man. Don't worry about it. Kim Rashad, so how surprising is it to you that North Carolina Central lost this game and now they find themselves in a similar scenario they were last year? They lost a MEAC road game and now they got to hope for some help to try to get back to the Celebration Bowl.
You know what? And I think that they are hopeful that things might just work in their favor, considering the games that are still remaining. I was looking, I guess, I was looking at North Carolina. They only got 2 games left rest of the season, right?
Yep.
And but the thing is, I looked at Howard still has Central, South Carolina State, and Hampton. Oh no, Morgan. And I think somewhere in that mix, South Carolina State, I just, based upon what we saw, I think there is room for letdown with South Carolina State before the end of the season. I have a feeling that we are possibly looking at a potential 3 or 4 way tie in the MEAC. It is very, very possible. And that is going to be so scrumptious to see how or whatever the tie-breaking system is going to be for them to determine who is going to represent the conference in the Celebration Bowl. So to answer your question, yes, I think that there is, I don't think South Carolina State is going to go the rest of the way unscathed. And I'm not saying that they're not capable. I'm just simply saying, based upon what we've seen this past weekend alone, it is very possible that they could tumble and fall.
So we can all agree that the MEAC is wide open. I mean, we don't have any confidence, at least y'all don't have any confidence that South Carolina State can go the rest of the way unbeaten. If it's wide open, as we say it is, what team can overcome them and take first place? Is it still Central, or is it Howard that won a game on Saturday? Is it Morgan State that has a great defense but struggles on offense? Like, who could be that next team to kind of overcome South Carolina State?
I mean, I think Howard. I mean, look at the remaining games on Howard's schedule. Howard, literally, if I'm not mistaken, and Howard controls its own destiny at this point. All Howard has to do is just win out, because I don't think Norfolk State is going to be an issue. Howard wins out. Howard wins the MEAC, period. Now, will they do it? That remains to be seen. But so I go back because I think about what Chris said last week about just how confident Larry Scott was during the press conference last week, and how he didn't really appear to be too fazed about losing to
Norfolk State?
Norfolk State. Right.
Yeah.
So and I now see, wow, looking at the schedule and what he's got the rest of the way, the Bison control their own destiny. So I see why he has a certain level of confidence that, okay, we're not going to be fazed by this, but we just can't have any more hiccups along the way. So look, man, I think Howard probably is in the best position to kind of, to just win and they're in. Well, South Carolina State the same way, but I think Howard is also in that same unique situation, considering who they've got remaining on the schedule.
And Ken, I mean, you're right that. Sorry about that, Chris. But Ken, you're right. Like, Howard can win out and still win the MEAC, but they have a tough road. They got to play South Carolina State. They got to play Central.
It is
and they got to play Morgan State.
Yes. And all 3 of those games, all 3 of those teams are still contenders for the MEAC title too. That's the thing. So.
Yeah, Coach Scott, that confidence was on display this morning. Again, I mean, it's not like he was bragging or anything, but he said the guys have adopted the mantra of we on this island together, so burn the boats. Like, there's nobody that's getting off of the island. They're going to stick on this island together. So that's the mentality they have now, burn the boats, so nobody can jump ship or whatever. So he's confident. I mean, again, it's Delaware State, and I love my alma mater, but right now we got some problems, and there's some things that, Lord have mercy. That's probably some things we probably need to talk about offline. But I mean, they looked good this week. I mean, can they beat South Carolina State? Sure. Can they beat North Carolina Central? Sure. Can they beat Morgan State? Sure. Will they? I mean, hey, I mean, we've seen Howard have some prime chances before, and I mean, that's what made the Central game last year so shocking, because nobody thought that Howard was going to do what they did to North Carolina Central, and lo and behold, they drugged them up and down the field. It was like, wow. And I don't know if that happens again this year. I know Trey Oliver is, he's already, regrouping, talking about, he's not worried about his team the rest of the way. So yeah, this is going to be a fun ride down the stretch. We have a 4-way tie. I do not envy the MEAC office figuring this out at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But I don't think it's going to be a 4-way tie. I think South Carolina State is going to win the MEAC. The only way I see South Carolina State not winning the MEAC is if they slip up and they lose to Morgan, or if they lose to Howard, which I don't think that's going to happen, because, like I said, I don't trust Morgan's offense, and I think South Carolina State's defense will overpower Morgan State's offense and not let them have a good game. I think that Howard has been too inconsistent, and I trust South Carolina State as a complete team more than I trust Howard. And then who else they played? Norfolk State the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Why would I have? Is the only thing I'm worried about with South Carolina State is their running game. I don't have a problem with their passing game. Granted, Jaquez Jones is having a very good season from Lane, like I thought he would, but I trust South Carolina State more than I do any of those other teams. So I think South Carolina State runs the table. I have the ultimate confidence that they can do it. I have the ultimate confidence in Chennis Berry and in Eric Phoenix and that whole team. I think that South Carolina State wins the MEAC.
Do I detect a little D2 bias?
I mean, there's always going to be a little D2 bias, but I truly believe that, though.
Hey, Jared been harping on the point like, hey, man, D2 football is really, really good, and just saying like Division I HBCUs can't get their head chopped off. They're totally mistaken. And like South Carolina State, they got 14 Division II players, and
right, that's what that was
one of the best teams
in
in Black college football with those players.
Yeah.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Just look at all the guys that have come up from D2 to D1 and have had success. Granted, we've had some guys that had to, reevaluate their situations. That happens. Some guys get overzealous. They have a great season and they think too much of it, and then they move up. Then they realize the grass ain't greener on the other side, and then they get caught up in the system. The system being the transfer portal. But look at the guys that we have had that have come up and had success. We had Jordan Carter, who came from Bowie and went to Southern, had the big interception in the Bayou Classic a couple of years ago. We've had guys go to Morgan State, and they're having success at Morgan State. Jaden Carter, Jordan Carter's brother. You know what I mean? Eric Phoenix. He had a little learning curve at Murray State, comes to South Carolina State and has success. Like we got to understand that these guys. And then don't even make me mention the fact all the D2 teams that have beaten the D1 teams. And I'm not just talking about Mississippi Valley State. Yes, Central beat Mississippi Valley State. We're not even going to talk about that because everybody beats Mississippi Valley State. Just think about about Miles beating Alabama State. Think about all the years that Tuskegee was beating Alabama State in the Turkey Day Classic. Think about Bowie, when not even the best version of Bowie. Sorry, Chris, beating Delaware State. Not even the best version, not 2021, not 2019, not 2018, not with Big Damo, the year after he left. So for all of y'all that's thinking that the D2 talent is not good enough, that we just gonna come out there and be you gonna mop the floor with us, think again. We put up numbers against your best teams, not the teams at the bottom of the standings, some of your best teams. So y'all better stop sleeping on D2s. Like, come on, man. We and then all the teams that have made D2 runs, Winston-Salem State making it to the national championship game, Bowie making it to the regional final. We got teams that actually have postseason success. So stop sleeping on us.
Oh, wow.
Because we will knock your block off if you put us on your schedule.
Wah. Jared, mess him up. Wah. I'm gonna do my stuff.
Jared talking like Joel Embiid, man. It's wow.
Jared Lamar.
We know Jared. Well, we hope Jared wouldn't put his hands on anybody like Joel did. Lord have mercy.
Hey, if somebody talk about my son or my dead brother.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair game. That's fair game. Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't blame him whatsoever.
Gotta eat to them. Yeah. Sticking with Division II themes. Thanks for reminding me, Jared. There was a big time upset in the CIAA. The Fayetteville State Broncos. Not only did they end the perfect season of John C. Smith, they hung a shutout on them, 27-0. You can see on the scoreboard on Saturday. The Golden Bulls' perfect season is over, and the Broncos picking up the CIAA standings.
All right, let me take it from here. I'm gonna take it from here. All right, let's go. We already introduced it. Johnson C. Smith, let me talk to you. Did you know that this was a game for you to clinch a spot in the CIAA championship game where you haven't been since 1972? Because it seemed like everybody else knew except for you. all the games this year where they have been so close to losing, all the games where they were teetering the line against Virginia Union, against Virginia State, against Winston-Salem State, you would think that they would tighten up with the stakes that were at hand, somewhere you haven't been in over 50 years. Do y'all know in 1972, that was just the third CIAA championship game ever played? The last CIAA championship Johnson C. Smith has won was in 1969, the year before the CIAA championship game was established. And with those stakes in mind, you have a chance to win one game. I get it. Fayetteville State is not a slouch, but you would think that there was a level of urgency to win that game, and they just had none of it. Not right now. Not right now, EA. I'm talking. Anyway, that was easily the worst performance Johnson C. Smith has had in its 2 years of actually being a contender. Darius Ocean had his least efficient performance of the year. The running game was not there. The defense was nowhere to be found. And now you go into a situation where you went from winning your in to now you could actually lose and not even be in the CIAA championship game. If Johnson C. Smith loses to Livingstone this weekend, and then Virginia State beats Virginia Union, Smith is out. You went from winning you're in a sure thing to now if you lose and Virginia State wins, you are out of there. And you saw what Virginia State and Virginia Union did. We'll talk about that in a second. So now you put yourself in a situation where you got to go on the road and beat a Livingstone team that is no slouch either, that has an incredible secondary. I hope Darius Ocean is on his P's and Q's because that secondary for Livingstone is no slouch whatsoever. They could very well lose this game and not be in the CIAA championship game at all. And that is sad given how great they were through 8 weeks. That's what HBCU football is all about. 10 weeks. It is 10 weeks. You have to put 10 weeks together of great football to be a championship contender in the CIAA. We saw it last year with Virginia State. Virginia State started the season 7-0. What happened? They lose to Elizabeth City State on their home field. Now, Johnson C. Smith, you lose on your senior day against a team that you haven't beaten in almost 10 years. I believe over 10 years they haven't beat Fayetteville State. Now you got to go on the road and face a good Livingstone team. Like you cannot have lethargic performances like that. You can't. And that's so disappointing because I know that's not a Maurice Flowers could not have been happy with his team. He could not have been because that was a pitiful performance from Johnson C. Smith.
Yeah, Chris, did the Golden Bulls blow it on Saturday?
Well, for Saturday's sake, yes, they did, but it's still a win and you're in. But this is the oldest HBCU rivalry game in existence. These two teams played in the first Black college football game in 1892. So this goes back a ways. And this Livingstone team under Sean Gilbert, those of you who remember the dude from the Los Angeles Rams who used to do the earthquake dance in the early 90s, that's Sean Gilbert is their head coach. And they have played some really good football this year. I mean, they have like 4 quarterbacks for some strange reason. I don't know why they have that many quarterbacks taking snaps, but apparently it works for them. So John C. Smith is definitely going to have to be, all peepers aglow for that offense. And as Jared said, their secondary is pretty tough. So this is going to be a game that I said it right up until the Fayetteville State debacle that Johnson C. Smith had. I mean, there's that shoe. There's the first shoe. Like I said, we've been waiting for shoes to drop on Johnson C. Smith all year long. The first shoe dropped this past Saturday. Will the second one drop this coming Saturday? I don't know. But that's the beauty of it. I mean, they have to start so much faster. I mean, they have to actually start because from the looks of things, they didn't even get started against Fayetteville State. But did they blow it Saturday? Yes. But can they still win? Yes.
And just to be clear, I'm not saying that they can't win on Saturday. What I'm saying is you shouldn't have to be in a position to where you have to win on Saturday if you had just handled your business last Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. If they had lost on a game-winning field goal or a go-ahead touchdown in the final minute, then there wouldn't be a problem. Even if you had lost by 10 and you put up a good fight, that's one thing. It's the fact that it wasn't even a game. It's the fact that it wasn't competitive at all. That's the problem that I have. And with a team that played as great as they did through 8 weeks, you cannot let a game like that slip away without even offering any kind of resistance. Now, granted, the defense made a couple stops down the stretch. They were inconsequential because they couldn't do anything on offense to make it up. But other than that, from top to bottom, they just had nothing going for them. And you hate to see that with a chance to stamp your place in the CIAA championship game.
Yeah, especially against a team that was 3-4 going into that ball game and had been playing inconsistently all season long. And I had to show up. That's a pretty big indictment. Like I know they had having a great season up to that point, but to lose the way they did on their home field, no less, against a lesser opponent, that's got to be very concerning going into this week's game. I know they're not counting them out, but yeah, you don't want to have that type of loss on your resume going into a football game as big as the one that's going to be played on Saturday is now. And because they lost that game and Virginia Union did this to Bluefield State on Saturday, the Panthers are in first place in the CIAA, and they could win. They're winning. They're in the championship game. Yeah, so Virginia Union beat Bluefield State, a team we thought would be a sleeper coming into this season, by 91 points. They had a 41-point second quarter after being only held to 7 in the first quarter. And after the game, Dr. Alvin Parker had to explain himself that, no, we're not trying to run the score up. It's just how the game was played. And I'm going to read you what he said after the game to the school's website. He said, we certainly didn't try to run up the score, but everybody earned the right to play today, and everybody got the reps they earned. When the guys got into the game, they produced. I've been saying all year that we have so many guys who can play. So when they get the opportunity, I want them to take advantage of it. And boy, did they certainly do just that. Look at this. Look at these people.
Look, 41,
91 to nothing.
41 points in the second quarter. 21 in the third, 22 in the fourth. And it started off the first quarter ended 7-0. What happened?
Like a regular first quarter of any game ever played.
People are in the first quarter. Into the first quarter.
Can you just imagine Bluefield State on the sidelines after the end of the first quarter? We're right in there, guys.
We're right in there, fellas.
We have a chance.
Keep it up.
Okay, we gave up a touchdown, but okay, we're still in it. Okay, we gave up another touchdown, but keep playing, keep fighting, keep fighting. All right, guys, let's pack it in.
And then several more touchdowns later.
By the way, shout out to Bobby Rome in the chat. Florida Memorial, the Florida Memorial's head coach. They're playing Kaiser University in the Sun Conference Championship game. They had a pretty big game themselves. They beat Thomas University 75-21. So
we got you covered, Coach. We got you covered.
Crazy that they scored 75, and that wasn't even the highest scoring game of the weekend. That Virginia Union just overshadowing people left and right. We had 4 or 5 40-point games, and some of them weren't even in the top 5 for the highest scoring games this weekend because Virginia Union just want to put belts to Bluefield State's behind. And man, I don't know. I don't know who's going to win the CIAA championship this year. You could look at that performance and say, oh, Virginia Union is peaking at the right time, but I just can't count out Johnson C. Smith or Virginia State. The fact that Virginia Union could potentially lose to Virginia State and not even be in the CIAA championship game after putting up 91. And the fact that Virginia Union, this is not new to Virginia Union. A couple of like in 2018 or something like that, they beat Lincoln 90-0. So this is nothing new for Virginia Union putting up 90 and shutting teams out. So I'm a proud CIAA man right now. I'm looking forward to watching how these final games play out.
Yeah, so Chris Jarrett said he doesn't know who's going to win the CIAA. Do you do?
No, I don't either. I mean, let's keep it real. If Johnson C. Smith, I mean, this is kind of like, this is absolutely correct. Let's see. Let me see what Edwin says before I give my answer. Hey, in a lot of sports, Bluefield, the HBCU that don't look like it, be whipping on the HBCUs that look like it. I'm not mad at Virginia Union. Well, that's another story for another day. But I honestly, I mean, Virginia State looked pretty good against Lincoln. They didn't score 91, but 55 isn't bad either. So we are probably looking at a high-scoring track meet in the annual Doug Wilder Bowl, which, of course, is going to be on Virginia State's campus this year. Any of those three could win it. I mean, Johnson C. Smith could lock in and really defend and, take care of business there. But Virginia State or Virginia Union could absolutely blow them off the turf of Salem Field. And remind you guys, this is the last time it's going to be at Salem because the CIAA championship game will return to its roots in 2025 in North Carolina. So Salem, you've done well. Thank you for your service, but we're moving on. But yes, I don't have a clue like any of those three, but if you had to make me pick today on Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 8:39 Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to go with Virginia Union.
Wow.
I second that.
Wow.
If I had to pick right now, I got to pick Virginia Union.
Wow.
From what I just saw from Johnson C. Smith. Now, granted, if you asked me prior to this weekend, I probably would have edged it to Johnson C. Smith.
So you don't think they'll pull it off this weekend?
I think they'll get there. I think they'll get there. I think that I'm predicting that Johnson C. Smith beats Livingstone, which would clinch it for them,
right?
Get them in CIAA championship game. And I think Virginia Union beats Virginia State. I just think that I don't think that Virginia State can stop that running game for Virginia Union. I think Virginia Union's defense, Virginia State's defense is not the same defense from last year. It's hard for that great defensive play from last year to carry over, and it's unfortunate that Virginia State missed this window last year. With that loss to Elizabeth City State, and obviously they needed to beat Virginia Union in the loss, but that was their year. I feel like last year was Virginia State's year, and they unfortunately fumbled. They fumbled the ball, and I think this year they took a bit of a step back, and Johnson C. Smith took a big step forward, and Virginia Union just continued on their trajectory. And I think right now things are trending in the direction of Virginia Union. So I think it'll be Virginia Union and Johnson C. Smith in the CIAA championship game. And I think as of right now, I see Virginia Union taking it home.
As an aside, Jared wrote a really nice piece that's up on our website right now explaining these scenarios in the CIAA featuring the three teams we mentioned. So check that out when you have time. Yeah, so it's going to be a final crazy couple of weeks in the CIAA. And we got a little bit more clarity on Saturday, but may not. If the Golden Bulls can win, it would be helpful for them. So we'll see how that goes. I want to go back to the SWAC. Talk about the couple games that of note there. Jackson State, they won their homecoming game 41-3 over UAPB. Still undefeated in the SWAC. And it looks like they're going to clinch East unless they fall apart these last couple of weeks. The other game that was big. Sterling had to pull one out against Alabama A&M at the end to stay in first place in the Wild SWAC West, which still could not be decided by the Bayou Classic, which I'm hoping to make great again, as Kim Rashad is too. How are we handicapping the SWAC West, and then we'll get to the other team in the SWAC West. It's kind of having some problems, but Ken, like, how you seeing the SWAC West playing out as it stands right now?
I really don't know. And because I have no stake in this, I really don't care.
You can't say you don't care.
Well, I don't. Now, I think it's safe to say it's a two-team race, Southern and Alcorn, right?
Alcorn lost
Matt-
to Alabama State.
Yeah, but so yeah, Alcorn lost to Alabama State. Southern lost. Who are they? I'm trying to figure out what's the Southern's in first, right? So Southern wins out.
Yeah, they're first.
Yeah, I just, but look, man. Southern clinches this weekend with a win against BCU and Alcorn lost. Is that right?
I don't think that works that way because they're not division opponents.
I need to review that. I'm not. Is that right? I don't know if that.
Let's check that out.
Yeah, I got to
Southern
confirm
wins
that.
this weekend. If Southern wins this weekend, Southern would be what, 5-1 in conference competition, and Alcorn would be 3-3. And then there will be 2 games after that.
Yeah, Southern plays. After this week, Southern plays Arkansas Pine Bluff on the 16th. That's their next division game, and then of course their last division game is the Bayou Classic.
So I think that makes sense, because if Southern wins and Alcorn loses, it'll be 5-1 and 3-3, and then the best that Alcorn can be is 5-3, and the worst that Southern can be is 5-3 if they lose out.
Oh, okay. So according to EA,
Southern, that's valid. Yeah.
Okay, so EA and David, I stand corrected. So okay, so yes, Southern can clinch the West this weekend. That's crazy.
So who does Alcorn play?
I believe.
So Alcorn's 3 remaining games.
Alcorn plays Texas Southern.
Yeah, Alcorn plays Texas Southern at home. They play Prairie View on the road, and then Jackson State at Alcorn.
Brian Williams predicting BCU to beat Southern this weekend.
It's possible. It is possible.
I mean, there's no real dominant team. There's no team that I can really say, unless it's Mississippi Valley State. No disrespect, Mississippi Valley State.
Why you keep saying they almost beat Prairie View this weekend?
They tired of us, man. They are tired of us.
Hey, win some games and we won't have to say this. Like, how you gonna get mad at me for saying that you have a history of losing, and when you can just win? That's all you got to do, guys. Win.
I'm gonna tell my mother, a proud Valley alum, about this.
So okay, so Southern wins and Alcorn loses. Southern clinches. Okay,
but that's anticlimactic.
Say what?
That'll be anticlimactic.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
So the Bayou Classic won't mean anything.
Go Wildcats.
They still holding out hope, ain't it, man?
Well, no, look. I told you we've been eliminated. There's nothing for me to play for, but I just want the Bayou Classic to be great again.
Everyone's calling for a 3-way tie in the SWAC East. I don't think Jack State losing
not gonna happen
twice.
That's not gonna happen.
They're gonna lose twice. No, they're not gonna lose twice.
Yeah. Alcorn plays Texas Southern at home. I don't see all. Look, man, Texas Southern folks, I don't trust y'all either.
They're border regions.
Them border regions. Look, you know what? Go Braves. I forgot about the border regions.
And no, we are not apologizing to the border regions. That's not happening.
That's right.
They could score 100 next week. I'm not apologizing.
That's right. Go Braves. You know what? Yeah, let's make this thing interesting. You know, so because I honestly I think Southern's going to be Bethune-Cookman. I do. I think they're going to play with a sense of urgency. They have a lot to, not necessarily a lot to lose, but they certainly got a lot to play for. But I think Alcorn is going to probably play with a sense of urgency too, and they've got the benefit of playing that game at home. So I think that while Southern may be Bethune-Cookman on Saturday, I think Alcorn will beat Texas Southern as well.
Yeah, because Cedric Thomas today in the SWAC conference call was talking about the big payback. Because last year Alcorn State had a chance to clinch the SWAC West with a win at Texas Southern, and the fighting McKinney's put it on them, man.
The fighting McKinney's. Oh boy.
So yes, go Braves. I refuse to let the Board of Regents have a clue, like they know better than the AD at Texas Southern. All right, that's my position on that.
Sounds very political.
It is.
Where they were at.
It is.
They're eating the dogs and the cats. Still gonna be still funny to this day. Forever funny.
Oh boy.
Don't vote for that man, but that was funny. You got to
Don't get me started on that idiotic moment.
Oh boy. So embarrassing.
Speaking of embarrassing,
no, you didn't.
Grambling State Tigers.
Really?
They
Wow.
lost to Bethune-Cookman. They blew a 2-touchdown lead to the second string quarterback that we highlighted for Who Balled Out, top of the show. Ken Rashad today wrote about some of the changes that may be coming to the Grambling football program. Not anything major, but Mickey Joseph said there will be some, his word, internal changes coming after they lost fourth in a row, third in a row, in spectacular fashion.
For the last five.
Four of the last five. And no, Mickey Joseph did not curse on the call this time. He kept it kosher. He was in a better mood, he said today. I don't know how you could be in a better mood losing to Bethune-Cookman, but he said he was in a better mood. But yeah, so Grambling State, last place in the SWAC West. They got fewer SWAC wins than Bethune-Cookman, ironically enough. So, Cameron Stroud, explain yourself for your football program.
There's no explanation. You're talking to a very hurt soul right now. I told you guys that Saturday's loss was the absolute most embarrassing loss in the history of Grambling football. I've seen a lot of Grambling football games. I've witnessed a lot of, but not a lot, but I witnessed some bad losses. Keep in mind, I endured the season of the boycott, the famous boycott. I did get a chuckle out of ruining Jackson State's homecoming, but that's another issue. Okay, we're going to go there.
You ought to play us 3 years in a row after that in Jackson because of it.
Right, but still, and we still your daddy to this day, since we're talking about daddy issues. But anyway, back to last week. And I say this, man. I said this during the podcast, and I say this. I'm dead serious when I say this, is because going back to the last two series of that game after Bethune-Cookman took a 3-point lead, and I stand by this too, with respect to the woeful play calling of Eric Dooley. Now, Eric Dooley gets a lot of I think sometimes, folks in their criticism of him, look, it comes with the territory, but I'm one who oh yeah,
I'm laughing at Edwin's comment.
Yeah, I saw that too. But anyway, but given the fact that he's been the head coach, he's been offensive coordinator, currently the offensive coordinator, he's been the head coach at Southern and Prairie View. Whatever criticism that he's received up to this point, it comes with the territory, But I will just simply say this, and I'm going to throw Jason Rollins into that as well, because I try to go out of my way, as a matter of fact, to try to defend HBCU coaches whenever necessary, because you guys know we've got this thing that folks within our space use when schools announce hirings and when they announce their coaching staffs and so forth. We use this term, why are we hiring recycled coaches? I personally think that's kind of idiotic, if we're just going to be honest with you, because you never ask, why do you hire? You don't ask, why do we hire recycled accountants? You don't ask about hiring a recycled attorney. I mean, damn, if you want somebody, you want somebody with experience. And to be quite honest with you, and I know what they mean, I know why do we hire these recycled HBCU coaches? To me, I think there is a certain level of respectability and a certain level of credit to coaches who actually want to coach at HBCUs. Because damn it, There are some black coaches who don't want to have anything to do with coaching at an HBCU. I've talked to them. They want no parts of it. So keep in mind that when you start talking about these recycled coaches, keep in mind that there are a lot of coaches that just simply would say, you know what, man, there are plenty of PWI jobs and I can get me an assistant coaching position in one of these programs. I sure as hell don't want anything to do with those jobs at those HBCUs given the horror stories that I've heard about coaches. Okay. So stop it with that recycled coaching stuff. Now, if you want to make the argument that we need to stop recycling bad coaches, now you got a point. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that Eric Dooley and Jason Rollins are bad coaches. I don't know them well enough to say that. They certainly, they are professionals. They certainly know more about the game than I do. But I'm going to just simply say this. With respect to the final two offensive series during that game Saturday between Grambling and Bethune-Cookman, the level or the lack of acumen that Eric Dooley displayed was emblematic of the negative coaching stereotypes that is associated with HBCU coaches with respect to the fact why HBCU coaches are never considered for some of these PWI jobs that you see. It was that damn woeful. You are in deep in Bethune-Cookman territory. About 4 minutes left. You're down by 3. You've got a freshman quarterback who has, despite what he's had to deal with up to this point, limited reps in practice and so forth, was literally number 3 on the depth chart starting the season, who has shown you if you play to his strengths, he can get the job done. And he was able to do that in the first half. So you've got 2 timeouts left, 4 minutes. There's no need to rush. And all you got to do is continue with the RPOs, throw for the sticks, intermediate passes, RPO running and so forth. And you get some first downs, and at the very best, you want to score touchdowns, but at the very best, you want to get in field goal range because you know that you've got a field goal kicker who literally, arguably, is one of the better field goal kickers in the conference. And instead of doing that, you're trying to get chunk plays, and you're literally throwing down the field on fly routes in which you've had a quarterback, including Miles Crawley, who have shown you during the course of the season that they can't even complete them damn plays. Those plays don't work. You go 3 and out. You punt the ball. You were fortunate to get it back with about a minute remaining. Now you need to go for chunk plays. And instead of going for those chunk plays to hurry up and get down the field with the hopes of getting yourself in field goal range, what do? You start throwing for the damn sticks. And it became so damn bad. I'm not making this up. Go listen to the rebroadcast on ESPN Plus. It was so damn bad that even the announcer had to say, I don't understand what Eric Dooley is doing. Those were his words. It was that horrible. So, I'm not going to sit up here and insult Eric Dooley by saying that the man can't coach. But I will simply say that those 2 series were emblematic of the negative stereotypes that unfortunately HBCU coaches, because we know we got some HBCU coaches who can coach. But you did HBCU coaches no service with that BS that you displayed out there. Plain and simple. And I'm done.
It's funny you mentioned how the announcer was talking about the strategy that Eric Dooley used on Saturday. Jay Walker made similar comments last year when Eric Dooley was a coach at Southern. In the game they ended up losing, they were trailing late in the ball game, and for whatever reason, they decided to run the football down the field, knowing they needed to get in field goal range. They either didn't have no timeouts or 1 timeout. He kept running the ball, and Roger was like, I don't know these play calls. Like, why is he calling a run play?
Yes.
We have this amount of time left. We need a field goal to tie the game. But then, like, you have Mickey Joseph saying 2 weeks ago that he was going to personally be more involved in the offense, and went so far as to say that he will literally demand what players were being called on offense. Because we already talked about how Mickey Joseph said, well, we need to, like, enhance the protection around Miles Crowley, who was getting killed back there with a bad offensive line. Maybe we need to run the football a little bit more. He was trying not to say it's Eric Dooley's fault while kind of blaming him, but now it's got to the point where, like, okay, yeah, Dooley probably need to get off the sticks.
So this is my question. If you know that you would not trust this dude to run a kindergarten class, why would you hire him to run your offense?
But look, I mean, in all fairness,
nepotism, man. That's what it is in coaching circles.
Look,
nepotism. People know each other. They know how they're friends.
No one can argue. I guess prior, look, it was the success, and I'm trying to be fair here. I'm not trying to be overly negative, because it was what Eric Dooley was able to do as an offensive coordinator that made him an attractive pick to become head coach at Prairie View, because of what he was able to do at Grambling before he left, because of what he was able to do as offensive coordinator at UAPB before he left there. The man was able. He scored points. But I talked to some Grambling supporters, and they say this is not the same Eric Dooley who was here with us back during that 2017 championship season. Something changed. But so, let's be fair here. It was what he was able to do as offensive coordinator that put him in a position to become head coach. So I'm not going to sit up here and say the Friends Network, even though I am going to call Mickey Joseph, because he was in an interview, and he may have been just joking, but he did make the comment in an interview. He said that the cats that I rock with, and I'm paraphrasing here, the people that I rock with, basically on his coaching staff, are people either from New Orleans, got ties to Grambling, or are members of Omega Psi Phi. I'm like, so I'm just telling you that ain't working, brother. And I know you may have been saying that jokingly with a little bit of levity, but given what we saw last week or Saturday, but in the last 2 weeks, or should I say the last 5 weeks, that formula or that philosophy ain't working. Thus, the announced internal changes that we still, we don't know what changes are going to be made. He said he wasn't going to make it public, but I guess at some point we'll probably see it. But he said that some internal changes were going to be made. And so given that where this team is right now, in which all they can do is play for pride, the best you can do is
my thing is, Cam, like, why are you making changes now? The season's pretty much over. Why not do it where you had a chance to win?
Well, the changes, I don't know what changes could be. Maybe he's going to call plays. I don't know. I'm not saying that he's going to fire anybody. It would be foolish to keep the staff on another year, obviously, but changes could be a number of things. I don't know. We don't know what those changes, but I will say this. I mean, at some point, if something isn't working, you would think somebody would make some changes. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not mad that he made the announcement, but hell, changes are the least that you can make considering what we've seen up to this point. So yeah, you should make some changes, or at the very least, some internal adjustments, because what you've been doing up to this point hasn't been working.
So let me ask you a question, Ken, because I feel like you would probably know this better than any of us. Would you say that the problem could be that the offense that Dooley is running isn't formulated to the personnel that's in the locker room? Because you said that it worked in 2017, and the guys that you had in 2017 were spectacular guys, one of which made it to the NFL. So is it because the offense that they're running isn't formulated for the guys who are running it, as in the players who are running it? Or is it just that Dooley isn't calling the right plays?
My answer to that is yes and no. Because nobody really knows. I really don't know. I guess I can't answer that question. I don't know what conversation Coach Joseph has with Eric Dooley and his coaches Nobody knows that. I'm not.
And when Eric Dooley was handed the preseason SWAC Offensive Player of the Year as his quarterback, he couldn't make it work. So what other store quarterback is out there?
Look, man.
I think Miles got that just by, respectfully, probably just, he was the most experienced guy left because Body was hurt most of last year. Everybody else had a quarterback question coming in to the season in the SWAC. So that's
I don't put much stock into the SWAC offensive player, the preseason offensive player of the year either, because who was it in the MEAC? Otto Coons?
And he has not seen a down this year.
And the only reason I said this at the beginning of the season, they only give the preseason offensive player of the year based on who's the best returning player at that position. It has nothing to do with projecting who they think it could be the offensive player of the year once the season has ended. Otto Coons was the only returning MEAC quarterback. That's how he got it. If it was about projecting who could potentially be the offensive player of the year, you probably still would have gave it to Miles Crawley. But it had nothing to do with, his production on the field. It's just about, projecting how well the season was going to turn out. Now, granted, none of us on here could have seen the season going like it has for Grambling State, the way that it has. I don't think any of us could have seen this coming at all. But the MEAC preseason offensive player of the year, there's not much stock in that at all.
Let me address this to Jared Hawkins. Then why say yes or no? Somebody, you know what? You're right. It did make sense, and the actual question should have been I don't know. So you got a point. I really don't know, and to be quite honest with you, because Mickey Joseph felt the need to announce that he was going to make internal changes, I'm guessing he probably didn't know either. So, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being as honest as I possibly can be. They thought whatever the plan was, they thought it would work. But I'm here to tell you, based on what we saw in the first half of that game against Bethune-Cookman, whatever it was, whatever the offensive strategy was, it was working. And you got away from it. There was no need to when we had the ball with 4 minutes left, there was no need for a hurry up. There was no need to rush. Focus on the RPOs, the intermediate plays, first down, maintain the drives, and you just simply just threw that all out of the way, and you just started throwing down the damn field. And you don't need to be a football expert to see that, to just simply say, that doesn't make sense. And then when you flip the script and you got the ball again with less than a minute, and now you're throwing for the sticks, you're throwing 10-yard out routes. It just wasn't a good look. And I'm not making this up because it was so damn bad. It forced Mickey Joseph to have to tell folks, I'm going to make some internal changes. So that's just how bad it was. Think about that. It's not enough to just be on a losing streak. But the coaching was so bad in that one game that it causes the head coach to make an announcement, even though it wasn't very clear. We're going to make some internal changes. Yeah, Bethune-Cookman did make some second half adjustments. They saw just how weak that damn defensive secondary was, and they exploited it every chance they got. Which is why I gave Cam Ransom. That's why Cam Ransom balled out. Throw to the middle of the field and go. That's exactly what he did. And he worked.
Is it fair to ask Ken, was Mickey Joseph the right hire for Grambling after firing Hugh Jackson?
Say what now? Say it again.
Is it fair to ask, was Mickey Joseph the right hire after firing Hugh Jackson?
Well, no, but I'm look, man.
Or too early to say that.
Yeah, I'm not going that far. I'm
simply
the man
said he don't have a plan B. to
Well,
adjust to
look,
what
well, okay.
transpired the previous.
I get it. But
previous 9 weeks.
what I'm saying is that based upon the last 2 weeks, okay, you lose to Texas Southern on a Saturday night. You got time to cool off. You got all day Sunday. Go to bed. You wake up Monday. You know you got coaches conferences and you got press conferences. And as if it's really going to change something, you feel justified to call SWAC officials out on their BS. And then you're so bold and brash and arrogant enough to say, you know what, go ahead and fine me because I can afford it. Then you turn around and you really F it up against a Bethune-Cookman team whose only loss or whose only win going into that game was against a winless Mississippi Valley State. So it's not a good look. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you he's the wrong hire. That's no, no, I'm not going to go there. But clearly, whatever you're doing right now is not working.
I mean, if you got to possibly either change coordinators or take responsibilities away from them, then that says a lot about your decision making on who you bring in as your, at least one of your assistants. Now, Jason Rollins been fairly good on defense. Like first part of the season, Grambling defense had a lot of takeaways. But
It's
to be
regressed.
a critical mass with the offensive coordinator at
It's
this
regressed.
point, yeah,
It's regressed.
that's been something.
It's been
shocking
regressed.
to say the least.
Yes, it was. I had no argument here. Something went wrong.
All right, Ken. It's that time for you to say that thing you said at the end of the show. Then
These
get people to
comments are
donate
like
money.
really just see you guys. No, she loved the. No, you did not. Really?
Yeah. Tell him he needs to go to D2 with Valley. That's what we're doing today.
Okay. Yeah, I just missing a point. But anyway, all right. So look, guys, support the channel. Okay. Support the channel, become a level 1 or level 2 supporter. If you want to donate, man, support us. Go to hbcusports.com/donate. Kendrick is an expensive brother. You see, he's
Always blaming me, man.
You're harassing me, man. Daddy issues. You're telling me I got daddy issues. That's just insubordinate, man. That's just really horrible.
Insubordinate. See,
Yeah.
I won't go say nothing, but I'm gonna say it now. Excuse me. After y'all lost to Bethune-Cookman, you were on the message board and said, "I'm not talking no more smack the rest of the year."
And I'm not
upset.
I'm not talking smack to anybody. Who I've not said anything.
Hey man, you need to keep on shucking and jiving for the rest of the season, man.
There is nothing to shuck and drive about.
You don't stop talking smack, man. You keep going. Even when you're losing, you keep going. Oh, God. The great Cameron Shot silent.
I'm not silent. I told you I've been mathematically eliminated.
Oh, man. You got to keep
nothing.
See, other schools, when they down, man, they keep talking
no. Okay.
Grambling, the greatest school on earth.
Hold on.
Y'all need to back it up, man.
Well, look, it is. I'm just saying, but I'm looking forward to basketball season now, baby. I'm just saying, men's and women's at that. I'm just saying.
Speaking of women,
hey, Jared, not you, Jared Hoffman, but Jared Hawkins. That's cold, brother. That's messed up.
Oh,
because Ken.
So all I'm gonna say is this, though. So when I say I'm not smack, I'm just not gonna boast openly as I have been about the great Grambling State University. But I will say this, though, for you other schools out there, if you screw up, I'm gonna clown you. I'm gonna clown you. Southern better not lose the Bethune-Cookman Saturday. Jackson State better not lose the Valley on Saturday. Matter of fact, Jackson State better not lose at all the rest of this year. Because you can't win the big ones. You've already proven that. Guess what? Prime couldn't even win the big ones.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
This is your daddy talking Jackson State. And
And
believe
y'all ain't won a
me,
game since then.
but Jackson State can't win the big ones. You know, we used to call Jackson State the Buffalo Bills of the SWAC at one point.
Really?
You remember that?
Really? You
Because
gonna
they
go
couldn't
there?
win the big ones. We used to call Jackson State the Buffalo Bills of the SWAC. You SWAC page folks know that. That's just how. That's
Kim-
just how. That's just
So,
how.
Kim Rashad, when was the
impotent.
last time y'all played the
2017
SWAC championship?
And we
Okay,
won
that
it.
was what, 7 years ago?
Celebration Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what
Well-
happened since then?
Well, nothing, considering that
Exactly,
FAMU just
nothing.
won it last year. So, I mean, what's your point? You're talking
So
about
nothing in
Celebration
7
Bowl.
years.
Yeah,
Y'all
but
done fired
no
2
SWAC
coaches
team
and
is
working on the third.
no SWAC team had won it up to that point up until last year. What are you talking about?
Y'all only won a game because North Carolina State player took his helmet off in the end zone.
Okay. You, Deion Sanders, couldn't win any of them. He went twice after beating everybody else in the SWAC.
Including Grambling.
Okay. Finally. But again, that wasn't a big
Finally,
game.
okay.
We were a developing team at the point.
Oh, so now Jackson State games ain't big games. It was a big game when y'all won this year and y'all doused the coast with Gatorade. They ain't won a game since.
Well, look, that's why Mickey Joseph was forced to make some internal changes. You're not going to get me on this one. I'm just telling you now. So,
Oh, y'all record will. That's what it'll get you.
the record will what?
Get you.
Hey, man, we look.
Last place in the SWAC West.
If Mickey Joseph finished this season 7-5, it would be a stark improvement from last year, where we finished 5-6. So I'm just saying, man.
Okay. Just mediocrity again. Okay, you got you. You happy with that?
You know what? I'm gonna reach out to somebody to be a special guest on the round table on Wednesday. We'll talk about it. Anyway, I'm about to go eat me some spaghetti. Cause y'all getting on my nerves. EA, you know what, man? EA still around. See, only person who can talk, only person who can talk a little smack to me is my man EA. But you J State folks, man, y'all just now. My man Edwin, you know, me and Edwin go back. That's cool too. Me and Edwin good, but rest of y'all, man, y'all just you too, Kendrick. You get on my nerves too.
Me too.
Yeah, man.
What?
Daddy
All right.
issues. Now you're gonna say I got daddy issues.
Yeah, daddy issues.
Can we wrap this up, man? Because y'all just arguing like Kornheiser and Wilbon, man. I mean, dang.
Daddy
Oh,
issues, man.
Oh,
It's a
man.
face of a
Hey,
man who has
okay.
daddy issues.
I got you. All right. Okay. Nah, man. Look, seriously, guys, thank you so much for taking a moment to watch the show and to hear us ramble. He's Chris Stevens. He's Jared Hoffman. He's Kendrick Marshall. I'm Ken Rashad. God bless you guys. See you guys next time. And just turn it off.
We'll say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
see y'all Wednesday.